I really got to know Greg when I had him in class at Elmwood Junior High.
You know, I don't really remember when I first met him. I've known the Hineses all my life. I remember growing up with Joe and Jerry and all the family and Elizabeth and playing tennis at Bella Vista together. And somewhere in there, Greg came into the picture. So I've known him all his life and known him to be a fine person.
Greg was a little old man in a little old boy's body from the time he started coming home with Clay from grade school. He would rather sit and talk to me than go outside and play. I'd have to say, "Now, Greg, you need to go play with Clay now." So he had the gift of gab from the time he was tiny. He just, I was always amazed at the things that came out of Greg's mouth. And of course, as he grew up, he kept coming to me with any little problems he had that he didn't want to discuss with his dad or didn't want to get gotten after.
Well, I met Greg Hines for the first time in a coffee shop downtown Rogers. And we found out that we have mutual friends. And from day one, the relationship was great with same common goals of, leading this beautiful city into the 21st century.
And after that, I just see him at church. But when Clay started grade school at Westside, who'd he bring home but that little fat cheek Greg Hines? And he stayed with us ever since. Okay. They stayed best friends all through. Well, they're still best friends. So.
I remember that Greg was a very competitive individual. I was lucky to get to coach him in football and golf, and he may not have been the best player, but he was extremely competitive, always.
But what you see is what you get. There's not any pretense about Greg that I see. He is very honest and straightforward, and certainly, that's one of the things I appreciate most about him.
The way I would define Greg, and I can say this more than I would say it about any other person that I know, is that Greg is a planner. I think Greg planned to marry Lisa when he was probably about 5 years old. He planned to be mayor when he was in high school. That's kind of a famous thing that we've talked about a lot over the last couple of years. And I know that Greg has the year 2030 planned out for Rogers. He plans way further out than anybody I've ever known in my life, and that's the way I would define
Greg. He's very bright, and he's very in touch with what the community needs, and I see his age as only a positive factor.
Yeah, but people would have thought that about Greg. See, to me, that was just the opposite. When Greg was a kid, you would have thought he was too old. He was the one acting like an adult a lot of times when he was a kid. So I think he's a little bit different. I think age is too easily misused sometimes, and I think Greg's a good example of that.
Well, when my son was about 4 months old, I had my first non-family babysitter, and I thought long and hard, who do I want to babysit that precious baby? And I thought, I'm going to have Greg Hines and Clay Kendall. My thought was, if my son could grow up to be like those two boys, I would be one happy mom. And I'll never forget, we came home, the diaper was on backwards, the little sleeper was on backwards, but the baby was happy.
He's raised two very promising young girls, and that's his best achievement so far. And I hope that that continues to go well for him, and I congratulate him on being a good father and husband and family person.
Won that job as mayor, as student council senior in high school, told all of us then, one day he was going to be mayor of Rogers. And he kept that on his mind for these many years, and sure enough, when the time came, Greg was ready.
But nothing is given to you. So everything that you want, you have to earn it. And this Wall of Distinction Award, he had earned it with his leadership and his commitment to the community. And Greg Hines is a perfect example of what the American dream is all about.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Our 2012
Wall of Distinction
Honoree,
Mr. Greg Hines.